bank, and so they follow you, and they'll follow you all the way home. They'll follow you to the gas station. So I'm saying women need to have situational awareness. And let me give you some things that they do. They follow you to the bank, and they let you get back in your car. If they don't get you, then they'll follow you to a store or to a gas station. They'll see your car door open, and while you're pumping gas, they will open the passenger door and get your money or steal your purse. If not, they'll follow you home and let you go into your house and rob you on your way into your house. That's why you got to have situational awareness. Be very cautious about your environment. People you don't know, if you see somebody following you, get back in the car and just leave. If you're in a store and somebody is following you, ask somebody to walk out with you. But just have a lot of situational awareness, because we live in a crazy world. These young people don't have no respect for old people anymore. They used to respect and protect children and women. And so I'm just saying, y'all got to be very careful. Y'all live alone, and y'all need to be very cautious of your environment and people following you. And ain't none of y'all got no business being out at night. I'm just kidding, y'all grown. Situational awareness is what I want all the women to really be cautious and careful of. And it's happening in Tupelo. They rob people at getting at gas stations. They'll get in, steal your car, or you'll be pumping gas, not paying attention, and they'll pull up like they're getting gas, open your passenger door, get your purse, your phone, and whatever else. Be very careful. And so we're going to say that word again, situational awareness. Be very careful about your environment, all of y'all. So we're going to do Matthew chapter 5, verse 43. Now, this is a hard one because it's about loving your enemies. It's hard to love people that you love. And if you put in there that you have to love people that don't love you and like you and out to get you, that's hard. To love your enemies. And I want to define what an enemy is according to, just the basic of what an enemy is. And many people don't realize that you can have an enemy or an adversary. And an adversary is somebody that is working against you. And an adversary is more of somebody who continuously works to undermine you. An adversary is a person who mainly works in the shadows. They don't make themselves obvious, and so you don't even really know that they're an adversary. And every now and then they'll strike. They'll do something that will make it obvious that they're your adversary. Now, enemies are people who have chosen you as somebody that they don't like for whatever reason. And sometimes you can have enemies and you have done nothing. Sometimes you can have enemies and how you made that enemy is something very minor. Or it could be sometimes you can make an enemy over a disagreement, a dispute, or it can be over some person or some material thing or some money or an issue where you could not come to some agreement. And that person decides they don't like you and they are your sworn enemy, but they vocalize their disdain for you. Now, Jesus is going to really talk about this because you know what he says. This is what they were taught. Listen to what this verse says, verse 43. Jesus says this, you've heard it said, love your neighbors, but hate your enemies. That's what they were taught. That's the idea of loving your neighbors and hating your enemies. And that's what they understood about cohabitating with other people. Your enemies your enemies you hate, your neighbors you love. And Jesus had to really give a real simple lesson on this idea of loving your enemy. Now, I'm going to ask some questions because I want you to really get this. Now, you can't pick your enemies. Your enemies pick you. Because you can have enemies and not even know it. You can have an adversary, and an adversary, you know that they oppose you and they are not for you and they always out to get you. And that is something adversaries work from a distance, enemies work close. Adversaries can lurk in the shadows. Enemies are just right there in front of your face. You know they don't like you. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with people that don't like you, and you know they don't like you, and they are your enemies? Now, this is not a good philosophy to have, because Jesus is going to say this. Listen to what he can say. But he said, "But I say unto you, love your enemies." That's where you got a problem right there. If you don't like me, I ain't gonna like you. If you ain't, if you ain't for me, I ain't for you. Eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. You do something to me, I'm gonna do something back to you. How do you love people that are your enemies? They show you that they're enemies, their actions, their words, your your encounters are contentious, full of tension, and you still gotta love them. Jesus says, love them. It's hard, like I said, it's hard to love people that love you. It's just hard to love anyway. And see, this is the other thing I want to tell you. You're not built to love, you're built to hate. Love is not a natural instinct, because it is what it is. It is an idea in human behavior. We are born selfish. You know who the most important person in this room is? It's the person sitting in the seat you occupy. We're born selfish. Children and babies are selfish. And we're born that way. Children have to be, they have to, in a sense, some thoughts are, children have to be taught to hate, but they have to be nourished to love. And really, because babies are like this, children are like this too. Children of the opposite race can get on along on the playground and they don't know nothing about hate. They know something about selfishness, but they don't know anything about hate, because they instinctively don't see a difference between each other. That doesn't develop until they get older, and it won't develop if it's not nourished in them. And then you start teaching hate. If you teach differences, one is superior, the other is inferior. If you start making a difference between people. And so, but then this idea that we are built as to be aggressive, to protect our own self-interest, to protect us, to protect me, that's the way we are. Okay, and then we naturally grow up in loving and nourishing environments. That is something that we are taught, we see that is nourished in us. And then all of a sudden we see this disunity, this discord within family units. And then we mirror that hate when we get outside of that environment. I'm going somewhere because, children are innocent in the fact that they really don't see what we see as adults. And so, because they don't see it, they don't really foster hate. They really have cooperative communion with all people and other people. We get older, and then we start protecting ourselves more. And really, hate and your enemies is it's about their insecurities. It has nothing to do with anything you've done most of the time. You can make an enemy by being ugly, mean, nice, and hateful. You can make enemies like that by being a person that can't nobody get along with. And so therefore people just don't like you, and they're not necessarily your enemies. It's just that the relationship cannot withstand even the simplest contact or communication. So, but I really want to give you this. Jesus says this. He said, love your enemies. What does it mean to love your enemies? It means to treat them better than they treat you. That's number one definition. It's to love your enemies means to treat your enemies, people that you know don't like you, people that are hostile toward you, treat them better than they treat you. That does not mean that you let people take advantage of you, run over you, and treat you as if though you don't have dignity and that they don't respect you. Go ahead. Yeah, and I'm gonna talk about that, and that is one of the ways you deal with them is you just avoid them. because avoidance is a good tool to use to deal with people, because some people you can't get along with them no matter what you do. And so the best thing to do is to keep yourself away from them and keep them away from you. And if you have to be around them, give them basic pleasantries. Good morning, how are you? And that's it. You don't have to engage a long conversation. We ain't going to sit down and have lunch. But let me tell you what I'm not teaching. Go ahead. That's you done your part. You done your part. It's not on you no more. You're trying to be kind, you're trying to be nice, and eventually it might work and it might not work. It depends on the person's heart. You can only control your actions and not somebody else's. You do what's right, and don't worry about if the other person does right, because that ain't on you, that's on them. But then I'm gonna tell you this: don't be excessive in trying to deal with people who don't like you and are your enemies. Don't be obsessed with it. If you see they're not going to speak and they're not going to show kindness to you, just ignore them. Just ignore them. Just act like they don't really exist. Let me tell you, to ignore somebody is more hurtful than anything else. If they don't initiate contact, communication, hospitality, kindness, don't sweat it. Don't keep doing something and you know you're not getting any results. You cannot be kind enough to a person to make them treat you the way you ought to be treated. That doesn't work. Really, what you got to do is pray and ask God to touch their heart. Or either there might be a circumstance where they might need you. What do you do then? You've been trying to speak to this person for months. They ain't spoke to you. But then they have a need. How do you respond? The first thing you're going to say is, you ain't spoke to me in 6 months, and you come over here and asking me for something? That's the first thing you're going to say. No, Jesus said we're not going to do that. Jesus says we're going to help them anyway. That's how you love your enemies. Because when they have this arrogant attitude of you trying to speak and be nice to them and kind to them, they didn't speak. There may be a moment to where you can put your Christianity on display when they are in dire need and they really need something and they're in despair and they come ask you, look, I went to the store and I forgot my bread. I don't think I forgot. I got my hamburger meat, my onion, my mayonnaise, but I forgot my bread. Do you have any bread? I'm on you. Don't slam the door. Say, yeah, let me see what I can do. That's how you kill people with kindness. You see what I'm saying? But see, Jesus says, don't react and slam the door on their face. Be open to a spirit of reconciliation. How do you not know God put them in that situation to show them that they might need you and that you don't hate them as much as they think you hate them? You got to take the high road. You get what I'm saying? We've been in that situation 100 times, because you know how people that do, especially people that don't like you, they'll treat you any kind of way, say anything to you. And then they'll need you. And they be scared and they got to drop their pride. I never will forget a neighbor that cussed me out, snapped on me. You think you all that. Coming home one day, they had a flat. They weighed me down. Didn't really know it was me. Oh, it's you. I said, yeah, what's up? I said, what's up? Yeah, I need a flat. I don't know how to change the tire. I said, okay, I'll pull over. I'll help you. And I was changing the tire, and they were just making conversation. I didn't say a word. Changed the tire, put it on. Said, all right, I'll see you later. Got back in my car and went home. Did that improve the relationship? Not, not materially or physically or tangibly, but it did show that I don't have a problem with you. You got a problem with me. I am loving somebody who is hard to love, difficult to love, that really don't deserve my compassion, in the sense that they have agitated and aggravated this situation. This is what Jesus was talking about when he really used the story of the Good Samaritan. You have every reason not to help, but should you not help because you got every reason not to? Sometimes you ought to help somebody when you have every reason not to help them. You are justified in not doing anything because you've been treated bad. You've not been treated with respect, and people have been just downright ugly to you. You're justified not to do anything. To love your enemies is when you are justified not to do anything and to treat them like they treat you, you do just the opposite. You see those situations all the time of people that don't like you. I was on a job one time. Let's give some personal illustration. Somebody said they forgot their lunch. Oh, you did? Yeah. And I left my wallet at home too. Now I know that might have been a stretch. I ain't got no money for lunch. Okay, we were just arguing out there. You talking to me crazy. All these tables you could have sat down at, you come and sit down at mine because you really know who I am and the kind of person I am. I said, well, okay, here's $10. You pay me back tomorrow whenever you get some money. You got to kill people with kindness. Because I'm not going to get into a conflict with somebody that is so contentious that I can't live with peace. I'm going to tell you that. Don't let people rob you of your peace. You got to go home. You ain't going home with them. You don't sleep with them. You don't watch TV with them. You don't hang out with them. You don't go to the ball game with them. Why are you letting them get you that upset, disturbing your peace? And so when you leave them, they don't cause so much hostility and anger and frustration in you. You mad all day. You ain't spending all day with them. This is a temporary encounter that I'm going to bear and grit my teeth and make it through, and I'm going home. At the end of the day, you ain't worth me being mad after I leave your presence. And so many people take so much anger with them. Go home in peace. Watch Gunsmoke in peace. Pop some popcorn, get you a Pepsi, and just enjoy the rest of your day. Don't let people ruin your whole day. And so he says, love your enemies, and that's treating them better than they treat you. Now listen, it doesn't mean you let people run over you. Don't let people talk to you any kind of way. Don't let people disrespect you. Don't let people invade your personal space and just be obsessively overbearing. I'm gonna tell you something. Meekness is not weakness. Just because I'm meek and I tolerate you don't mean I'm weak. Don't take my niceness and kindness for granted. Because I'm mild-natured and I'm meek and I put up with you and I listen to you gapping and coming for me, don't think I'm weak. Don't ever let anybody think you're weak. When it's time to deal with a situation, you deal with it. And let them know this is a line you can't cross. All that other stuff you're doing is fine. But this line you don't cross. Because you will see another side of me. And that's what I'm talking about. You treat them better than they treat you, but don't let them cross the line to threaten your personhood and your peace. So he says, love your enemies. He says, you treat them better than they treat you. And listen, this is what he says, bless those who curse you. That could mean a whole lot of things. The word curse sometimes, and sometimes it means this idea of uh, words that are deflammatory, but sometimes it means people who speak and hope bad things to happen to you. Like a curse, somebody try to put a curse on you is to wish something bad to happen to you or try to put a spell on you. That could be either way you can interpret the word curse. It is deflammatory language that is disrespectful and demeaning, but it's also, they could be speaking something bad and negative over your life. And he says, bless those people who say things, because see, now I don't know about this nursery rhyme. Now, sticks and stone may break my bone, but words will never hurt. Now, because listen, some words you just ain't gonna say to me. It just crosses the line, and I'm just gonna walk away and let you keep saying that. And that's so deflammatory and demeaning and insulting. That's not what Jesus is talking about. You're not gonna be anybody's punching bag. You got to protect yourself. But then he talked about those people who also want bad to happen to you. That's almost witchcraft, because you are speaking something or wanting something to happen so that something bad can happen to that person, like putting a curse on that person. Man, I hope they trip and fall going out the door. That's a curse. That's witchcraft. I hope the car tears up. That's speaking a curse over somebody. It doesn't sound like it, but that's what a curse is. That is wishing something unfortunate or bad happens to a person. Jesus says, bless those people. And the word bless means, it literally means to speak kind and speak well. To wish good to happen to people who want bad to happen to you. I don't want bad to happen to nobody. And some folks have done a whole lot of things to me and done a whole lot of things to you. Like if my child got locked up for DUI, I wouldn't wish that on nobody else. I ain't gonna wish that on nobody else. Because I couldn't imagine the pain, the parent, the pain of the child, and the pain of the siblings or the children of my child. I ain't wishing nothing like that on somebody else. See, that people do that. They speak curses or they speak ill will and bad things to happen to people. And Jesus says, don't do that. Or people who are, see, because a person who uses deflammatory language, because that's what we know the word curse. And let me tell you something, everybody in here can curse. You ain't that saved. You ain't that saved that you can't use a couple of cuss words. See, folks sometimes think they the only one that can curse and say ugly things. But I'm just saying, when people do that, you just got to bless them. You know, I've been cursed out before. You have but too. If you go to any restaurant, any store, these crazy folk that's at these registers and working these stores, they'll cuss you in a minute. Can you help me? I ain't gonna say what they say. I mean, like, first of all, you got up and came to work, clocked in, and said you work here. I'm just asking you a question. You got to know how to diffuse a situation. Last week I talked about de-escalating situation. I'm talking about diffuse a situation. Now, I have in so many instances, and you have too, people you've encountered that were just high strung, and you talk them down, nice to them, and eventually you won them over. Imagine going to a restaurant and somebody, you order some food, and the person having a bad day, and they come throw your plate on the table. And they act like they don't even see you. Just walk around, and then you so angry. You see they're having a bad day, and they talking under their breath when they leave the table, when they come to the table. You got to diffuse that situation. Try to find a way out or a way in to try to reach that person. You get what I'm saying? Just be nice. I would never recommend for you to get upset with people who fix your food. Miss Jefferson, I'm sorry. I'm saying you gotta just try to bring the temperature down. If you see a situation getting heated, diffuse the situation. I would never recommend you to have a conflict with somebody you don't know. At a grocery store, gas station, in your neighborhood, if you don't know people, don't get into a heated conversation, argument, cussing match, shouting match, because you never know how far they're willing to take it. You remember folk used to bump into you, and you turn around and say something to them, and then y'all get to argue. You can't do that no more, because you don't know how far people are willing to take these escalations. You just have to go on, move on. It ain't that serious. I mean, we were both sitting here waiting for the gas pump, and you had your car pulled in the wrong way because your gas tank on the left, but you pulled in on the right tank. So now you want me to wait for you to go and turn around, and don't want me to pull up while you have to go all the way around the gas station. For me, I just wait. Wait for them. No, not you. You lose your place. It ain't worth it. Because you never know how far people are willing to take these minor, micro conflicts. It ain't worth it. Ain't worth sitting there arguing with somebody that you don't know. You ain't worth arguing with people who you really don't have a clear understanding of what their temperament is. Because people can take it from 1 to 100 in a split second. Especially these young people. Especially these young African American women. They will snap in a minute. Embarrass you, talk loud, don't care. Most of y'all don't have the internet. I'd be scared to go in a Waffle House, man. Something will pop off in a minute. Because you don't know. You don't know how far people are willing to take it. So you got to try to bring it down a little bit. And then he says, do good to those who spitefully use and persecute you. Now that's a hard one too. Now folk who use you, who spitefully use you. I mean, they spitefully, they do it out of spite. So this would be a person that takes advantage of you, knowing that you're a person that does right and is kind, and they take advantage of your kindness because they don't think you'll go there. You so meek and mild, and sweet talking, and but you know, I can't talk about church illustrators because I want to get mad. Folk will do it to you. They're spitefully, with malicious intent, with hate, and underlined with envy, and they'll use you. And then he says they'll persecute you. That those who persecute you, and that's people who always bothering you. I mean, they are like they ain't got nobody else to pick on but you. And these are people who it ain't wrong until you do. They will try to pick everything you do that ain't right. They critique everything that you do. Somebody else get a car, congratulations. You get a car, I wonder how they got that car. Wonder who they slept with to get that. I wonder how much money they stole to have that. You know them kind of people? Always persecute you, always coming for you, always trying to put more weight on you. And let me give you the idea of this word. This word is people who are always trying to put more weight on you when they already know you way down. That's what this literally means. People who persecute you, they always trying to put added weight on you, and they already know life is tough, and they have already spitefully used you, and they trying to put more weight, more stuff on your plate. They just trying to do everything they can to get you to snap, because they always coming for you. I mean, every time you turn around, they in your face, in your business, coming for you, talking about you. Your name is always in their mouth because they want to paint you as a bad person in everybody's eyes. They constantly persecuting you, trying to do everything they can to make people think negative or bad of you. You know people like that. They don't want anybody to think you good because they spend their lifetime to persecute you, to make people think as bad about you as possible. They ain't got nothing good to say about you. Everything negative. And I can tell you this, you can't do no good in their eyes. If you gave them a slice of bread and gave them some milk and put some money in their hand, they would say you were doing it just to be arrogant and to pick at them because they didn't have nothing. Ain't nothing you can do good in their eyes. And we have an illustration of this in our country. Trump is right. If he cured cancer tomorrow, the Democrats will find something to complain about. Nothing he does is good enough. They will persecute him. They will always critique him. They will always cast him in a bad light. Nothing he can do will ever be good enough for them to call it good. No good deed Trump could do. Even though the man is being president and he has forfeited his $475,000 a year salary, he don't even get paid. He don't even get paid. Even though he's building a ballroom in addition to the White House and he's spending $200 million of his own money, it don't make any difference. It's Donald Trump. And they will even find some bad in the good that you do. You walk up to them and speak to them on Sunday morning because the pastor said, everybody go and hug somebody, tell them you love. You go up and hug them, and they be like, what they hugging me for? You speaking to me for? Nothing you do. They're always nothing. And see, I'm gonna say it again. If you know people are trying to persecute you, they spitefully use you, and they curse you and they hate you, don't waste your breath and life trying to reconcile and be their friend and for them to like you. You look silly running behind this person that you know ain't gonna never like you. They ain't gonna never have your best interest at heart. Let it be what it's gonna be. As Ernestine says, it is what it is. As Miss Jefferson said, that's right, it is what it is. Because you're wasting your time. You can do whatever you can. You can't be kind enough to a person that hates you and curses you and spitefully uses you and persecutes you. You can't win them over. But Jesus says you can treat them kind and you can treat them better than they treat you. Take the high road. Michelle Obama said this, when they go low, we go high. The best illustration I heard of this, about the rat on the plane back in the day. The planes were not made out of metal, but they're made out of other materials. And the pilot looked out and saw a rat on the wing eating the material that makes up the wing. And everybody thought, oh my God, you need to do something. The pilot said, I'm going to do something. You know what the pilot did? He took the plane higher. And guess what? The higher he took the plane, the less oxygen the rat had to breathe. He wasn't crazy trying to knock the rat off the wing. He just went high. And he starved him of oxygen, and the rat eventually died. Sometimes you go high. And you breathe, smother out the oxygen people need or the energy people need to continue to treat you harshly. I'm telling you, Jesus really is teaching this lesson. Then I love what he says here, that you may be the sons of your Father in heaven. You got to represent Christ sometimes in some situations, and you got to be a representation. You have an opportunity when you know you got enemies to live your Christian faith practically. You can put it to work. Treat people better than they treat you. They don't deserve to be treated as kind as you gonna treat them because you saved. They don't deserve it. You give people more than they deserve, more than they could ever earn, and just be nice and kind. I'm not talking about kissing their tail or trying to just be overly gracious and kind. Them just treat them basic kindness. Speak and just be nice, and then you can. But listen, for he made the sun to rise on the evil and the good, and he sent rain to the just as well as the unjust. Listen, I think he's teaching here. I really kind of got a little curious about this point. What is he saying? What is Jesus saying? And really, all people are the same, and they're all God's people. And he talks about the sun rises on both the just and the unjust, and he makes rain to fall on the just as well as the unjust. God is fair and equitable, and this is one of the ideas I think it teaches, is that God is merciful toward both the sinner and the saint. Don't you think God is not merciful toward sinners, even though they hate him? Let me tell you how I know you believe this too. Because you'll say this. Now, I know God is bringing these troubles up on me, but look at Johnny out there, don't never come to church, always lying, stealing, and drinking, and don't nothing ever happen to him. Ain't the truth what I'm saying? That is God being letting rain fall on the just as well as the unjust, and God is letting the sun shine on the just as well as the unjust. He's merciful to both. It don't seem fair to us. The sun shouldn't rise on them because they ain't right. The rain shouldn't fall because they ain't right. But God lets it rain on them, lets the sun shine on me as well as them. God is merciful. God does not overreact toward people who hate him, reject him. He's merciful. He's long-suffering. He's patient. He's kind. He's benevolent. He's compassionate. And he's just saying we need to be the same way. This is what I said. Jack Grice said, one of my deacons at Watson Road Baptist Church, you ought to be able to tolerate as much from other people as God tolerates from you. And you know he put up with a whole lot of your mess. But God is gracious and kind and merciful, long-suffering, patient, and compassionate toward all people. We want him to move on the unrighteous, to judge them for their sins and iniquities or for their rejection and rebellion. But he doesn't. He's gracious. Why would God wait to save the man on the cross until he got on the cross? Because God then demonstrates his mercy, kindness, love, and grace to the man in his dying hour. But as long as that man was living, it rained on him and the sun shined on him just like it did Jesus. You get what I'm saying? It makes sense to you? Yes. And God is fair, equitable, kind, and merciful toward all people. We're supposed to be the same way. Merciful toward people. Give people some grace. Try to put up with some stuff without letting people just run over you, take advantage of you, and be abusive towards you. How do you deal with a neighbor who you try to speak to and be kind with? How you deal with it? I tell you one thing you do what you can, and if you do what you can and it don't work, move on. Now you look like a fool if you keep speaking and they don't speak to you. Just go on in the house. Y'all got a car at the same time, and you've been speaking to them for 6 months, they ain't spoke. Go on in the house. It ain't gonna work. You keep trying to speak to them, they saying, just go on in your house. Enjoy your day. Because you're not gonna change them just by speaking to them every day. You're probably gonna aggravate them because they told you don't say nothing to me, and you still saying something to them. Just move on. You like my mom and them said, just throw your hand up. Mom said they just throw their hand up and go on about your business, but don't sweat it. And then the Bible does talk about agreeing with your adversaries quickly, and so that literally teaches the idea: if they decide they don't want to have a cohesive, connected relationship, they've already told you what they want. Give them what they want. Move on. Don't keep trying to force the issue. That makes sense to you? It really does help to make sense. For if you only love those who love you, what is your reward? It's easy for me to love people who love me. That ain't no hard problem. I love everybody in here. I do anything for anybody in here. It's easy to love the people that sit in this Bible study right now. But I ain't going to get nothing for that. I'm not going to get nothing for loving Miss Combs, Miss Jefferson, Miss Calvary. None of y'all. I'm not getting anything for that. There is no reward for doing that because that's what I'm supposed to do as a Christian. I don't get no credit for that. Jesus is saying you get credit for loving people. It's hard to love your enemies. You think you're a good Christian because you loving and speaking to everybody that love and speak to you. You ain't getting nothing for that. Because that's what you're supposed to do. That's a part of your Christian responsibility. That's like Just like my children used to think they get something for taking the garbage out at my house when they came to stay the weekend. You don't get nothing. That's what you're supposed to do. You don't get no reward for that. Now, if you said, Daddy, because they don't have to mow the yard, but if they do something that they ain't responsible for doing and is outside or above their responsibility, that's when I reward them. You get what I'm saying? So Jesus says, you get nothing for loving people that love you. It's easy to love people that love you. You have a cohesive, connected relationship that is moving from one side to the other. It's a reciprocal relationship. You're giving and receiving, receiving and giving. It's easy to love them people. Easy. And I told y'all this story about the church I pastored, two women arguing about who chicken dressing was the best. And I got sick of it. And one Sunday, we had a fifth Sunday service fellowship meal. And they were out there while church was going on. One go out there and put the others in the refrigerator, put hers in the stove. And then the other go out there and put hers in the stove, put her back in the refrigerator, just back and forth. I got sick of it. I went out there to the fellowship hall, and they were still going on when we all got out there. I took one woman's salad dressing, chicken dressing, and dumped it over into another, stirred it up, and said, now, who's the best now? Who's the best now? Diffuse the situation and force them to get along. And you know what both of them said? Oh, well, guess that's done. Started laughing. Thought it was funny. Didn't get mad. Thought it was funny. Diffusing situation. Because let me tell you something. If a third party don't get involved in some of these conflicts could be resolved. 90% of children fighting on the playground will be resolved if adults never got involved. I've worked at a daycare before. Them little kids be in there fighting, and eventually, when the fight over, they're gonna be hugging back friends. The problem we have is we involve people in conflicts, which escalates the conflict and gets more people involved. And we want everybody to be mad at somebody because we mad at them. Most stuff could be resolved. He's simply teaching this. You don't get nothing for loving people that love you. But look at what he says in this text. You get no reward for people who love you. What is your reward? And he says, don't even the tax collectors do the same? This is a statement they really understood. As long as you're paying your taxes and doing right, when they come to collect, they love you. Tax collectors love people who pay their bills on time, and they maintain a good relationship, a steady, connected relationship with. Okay, but don't pay the tax collector. Can you be merciful to people who owe you and be compassionate, long-suffering, and patient with them? It's easy to be kind to people when they do right. It's hard to do kind to people when they don't do right. And they know they ain't doing right, and they know they have no plan to do right. What do you do then? Jesus says you have to pivot to loving your enemies. And then he makes this, and he says, if you greet only your brothers, what do you do more than others? To be kind and expressive and say, I know some of y'all do it because I'm the pastor. I see. I got a camera in my arm. If you're going to speak to people on Sunday, you speak to everybody, whether they speak to you or not. I'm not talking about getting up, hugging, rocking them and shaking them and rocking them, high-fiving. Don't come up in this church and before worship service, you go around speaking to folks, speak to everybody. I ain't talking about hugging them. I'm talking about giving them a holy kiss. Good morning, Miss Calvert. How are you? Miss Riffler, how are you? Miss Cole, Michael, how are you? Simple. I ain't talking about you. I ain't talking about you. I'm talking about folk who you know that don't like you, or you don't, You know they don't like you, and you're gonna be the last person they think would ever speak. But see, you think you're doing something because you walk around speaking and loving and talking and fellowship with everybody in here. But the one person you don't like, you pass over them. You walk right past them to speak to somebody standing on the other side of it. He says you don't do no more than the pagan people do, the tax collectors, people who have no religious orientation. That you that petty, especially if you gotta walk over somebody to speak to somebody else. Don't tell me you're a Christian and you love Jesus and that you are living out your Christian belief if you are step over somebody to speak to somebody else. Boy, I kissed Miss Mary Sunday, and Miss Jefferson was sitting there. She got so mad. I was coming to her. I wasn't looking over. Boy, she about ready to stomp me. I wasn't looking over Mother Woodline. She said, she looked at, she cocked her head. Oh, okay, I'm coming. You were sitting, Miss Mary was standing, coming in, and I just hugged. I would not look over anybody to speak to somebody else. I'm just saying, Christians don't do that. If you're going to speak to somebody at church, you might as well go and speak to everybody. Okay, let's just say we come in here and Michael come in and he speaks to Miss Jefferson, Miss Carriage, because them the people he like, and then everybody else he just act like he don't even see them. If you speak to them, speak to everybody else. You ain't got to hug them, give them a high five, shake them and rock them, just say good morning, how y'all doing? And if you really can't get along with people, and you don't really have any hand-to-hand contact, just say good morning, y'all. How y'all doing? Good morning, how are you? They might say this, fine. And they ain't gonna ask you how you doing. So, at least you put them on the spot, especially in a corporate setting. What's the worst they can do? I can tell you. They can reveal themselves as being an uncooperative, contentious, and contentious person by being so petty. I'm just saying, speak to everybody. I used to stand out there and shake people's hands. That was a good thing. Not everybody's hands that I shook that liked me. Someone would sit in their car, I'd wait them out. You ain't getting in here without shaking my hand. But I used to, and that's why I don't do it as much as I used to. But I used to, y'all, I'm gonna sit out there all day. Sometimes I'll be late coming in to come to pulpit because you ain't waiting me out. You get in this church, you shaking my hand with a brotherly love. You shaking my hand. Because I ain't done nothing to you. You mad, but you ain't supposed to come up in here, man. You know the Bible said, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. You shouldn't let the sun rise on your wrath. If we was mad and couldn't get along next week, there's no way 7 days done passed that you should be mad the next Sunday that you can't even speak and shake my hand. Who does that? Who stays mad a whole week? Who does that? Stay mad a whole week? And so you done took that anger from one Sunday to the next. You done had 6 days to calm down and to defuse yourself, to realize it's a new day. And you, like I left you last Sunday, you the same way this Sunday. Something wrong with you. That you got to hold on to that anger so long. And I'm giving you this, and I'm finna close here. This is what he says, and he says, "Do not the tax collectors do this." And he said, "Therefore, you shall be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect." And that word literally means God responds in a way that is appropriate for every situation. He's able to see everybody in an equitable, just, fair way. This is what I'm telling you. This is what I think is also hidden in that text. There are some external and some internal circumstances you can't see that people are going through and happening in people's lives that make them the way they are. You got to consider those factors. It's different than speaking to somebody in customer service role who got all their bills paid and had enough gas to get to work. and their lights weren't turned on. Now you go to the same person whose circumstances was reversed to that. That's a different situation. You got to put some of those factors in play. And I realize not everybody lives like I live, has the fortunate blessings that I have. And so therefore, I'm able to, it says, therefore you should be perfect as your father is perfect. He's not talking about God is without sin and complete holy. You ain't completely holy. You ain't perfect, but it literally means, when it comes from a human sense, it is an earthly term used to describe God. But we talk about perfection. We know we're not perfect. We're supposed to be mature, grown up, acting as if though we have, as the old people say, some sense, and judge a situation, vet the situation, and act appropriate. Do you treat all people the same? No, because you can't. Because all people ain't the same. I'm not going to have the kind of relationship with Michael as I do with somebody else. Me and Michael might go after church and go bowling, get a cigar. But not everybody I'm going to have that kind of relationship with. But that don't mean I treat them any different. Their dignity should not be diminished by my emotions and my feelings. I'm just telling y'all, we got to treat people better who we know don't like us. I expect you to speak to everybody. And if they walk over you and speak to somebody else, don't say, excuse me. That's escalating the situation. Just say good morning as they pass. If they don't speak, fine. Don't say, excuse me, you saw me standing here. No, that's escalating the situation. Just say good morning. If they don't speak, that's fine. That ain't on you, that's on them. Don't let a fool make a fool out of you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But see, that's my point. That could have been a viral moment because everybody take out their cameras now when people get into it. That's what they do now. Somebody jump on you, ain't nobody jumping in. They're going to put out their camera to record that fight, put it on Facebook and TikTok so it'll go viral. They see y'all over there arguing on that aisle, everybody coming with their camera. I don't want no viral moment. That's why I walk away a lot of times too, because I don't want to be viral. Because ain't nobody going to say, y'all calm down, this ain't necessary. They're going to sit there and pull out their phone so they can catch a viral moment. People don't have any empathy and sympathy for for people. They don't know how to come to each other's rescue. They have apathy and they don't care what's going on. They don't want to get involved. They just want to escalate the situation. They want to see y'all fight, women. And that's the best way. And then my other point to that story, it ain't your buggy, and it ain't the only food in the store. So what you gonna get into it about? Now, if that had been your car, it'd have been something different, something in your personal effect. It's Walmart. If they damage it, if they mess up the food, just get some more. Mm.